Hello, my name is Dwayne Perry with DP Performance, giving you the tools to live life stronger. And with this video, we're going to walk through the technique points of a bodyweight squat. Now, first key is the feet, our foundation. To find out, they typically say shoulder width apart is ideal. How the hell do you find shoulder width? Let me help you. Take two fingers and find the top of your hip bones. And when you do that, I want you from there to point a line straight down, and I want your feet just outside of this imaginary line. Now, some people go super wide feet, some people go close. Within strength training, there's no true thing, there's no such thing as isolation, truly. So trying to isolate specific muscles within the squat, I don't find ideal. We keep it to the fundamentals, and then when you want to work on certain specific things, you work on those. But for this, the bodyweight squat, feet shoulder width apart, finding the top of the hip bones, feet just outside that line. Now, I'll ask you to turn the toes out slightly. A lot of people squat toes straight ahead. That puts tremendous pressure on the knees. Guys, our hips are naturally open. So if we're going to get down into the squat, we want to tailor to those naturally open lines through the hips. So textbook says 30-degree angle to turn your toes out to. I'll say play with it. Everybody's going to be different. But do put a little bit of angle on those toes. Now, last point with the feet is keeping your weight right underneath the ankle is where it should be. Excuse me. When you're doing a squat, I want your weight right underneath the ankle, and I want you to think of that as your balance point, your center of gravity point. If we keep it underneath the ankle, that foot has its most solid foundation to produce force through the ground. If you squat and start coming to the toes at all, then that'll force an additional stretch that ultimately comes through the knee. And there's just a whole lot of knee problems that you will not want to deal with doing squats. So, once we find the feet positioning, pointing those toes slightly outwards, keeping weights right underneath the ankle, we'll get into the squat. Now, for common errors, the first common error that I'll see with the squat is those knees will come forward first thing, and weights will want to come forward onto the toes first thing. You're going to strain the shit out of your knee. I ask to counter that and to activate all our hip muscles that protect the lower body joints. First thing you do is push the butt back, keeping weight underneath the heels. And almost as a mental game, you want to try and keep your knee stacked above the ankle for this whole squat. It will come forward just a tad bit, but the less it does, the less pressure we're putting on the knees. So first thing, push your butt back, keeping that knee stacked above the ankle as best I can. We got a bodyweight squat. Now ideally I want to try and keep that whole foot on the ground, though here we are. Now the better we get at this, or excuse me, second most common error that I'll find with this, for pushing the butt back, great, yes. Though two, I may see the knees staying in a limbo land or caving in a little bit. That's all bad. Please don't ever do that shit. If your knees are going to do anything, push your knees out. If we have, let's say I'm working with someone that has a knee injury or a hip injury, they'll typically favor one side within the squat. Pushing the knees out helps center the body and activate those outer hip muscles that typically want to stay lazy as shit and not do anything. So guys, for a bodyweight squat, make sure you get the feet, make sure you keep the weight back, and then getting into the nuance, we have all been taught to squat ass to grass as deep as we can. There's something to know, and research has come out about the butt wink. Essentially, if you look at my pelvis within the squat, it'll stay solid, and at a certain point, it'll dip. And what's happening is the spine is strong enough to hold it solid, and then we pass our range of motion that we're strong in, and the pelvis will essentially lapse, compromise, and there'll be some spinal compression within there. So if you look at myself, at my pelvis, look at my ass. As I get into the squats, usually once you cross about 90 degrees, and I can feel it right there, you'll get that butt wink. So, yep, right there. Ideally, you want to stop right before that butt wink and then come back up. You will save your spine in the process, the number one structure within the body. So one, we're pushing the knees out, keeping weight back, and then stopping just above 90 degrees. We got a pretty beautiful squat. I'll typically incorporate the bodyweight squat as a warm-up before I go into real deal squats. They're not too much into my program. I like to throw weights in hand or maybe balance or something. Though the bodyweight squat is the foundation for everything. If you can do that correctly, 9 times out of 10 you can do everything else fluidly. If you have any questions about the bodyweight squat, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'll go in, answer it, and I'll be coming with more of these videos. Once again, my name is Dwayne Perry with DP Performance, giving you the tools to live life strong.